what an exciting time it is for all of us who are following or part of the technology race. And we really want to get to the heart of that today. What does it mean to say we want to have global technology leadership? Can Europe even realistically expect to have it? And if so, in which areas? Does it matter? And then crucially, of course, what role will the European policy framework have to play? Now, many of you will know Orgalim. We are the European organization representing the mechanical, electrical, electronics, and metal technology sectors across Europe. That's all combined around a third of Europe's total industry. And our companies are making everything from advanced manufacturing equipment like industrial robots to the sensors that are used for automated connected mobility, to components for 5G, for smarter buildings and smarter energy grids. The 770,000 companies that constitute our industries include some big multinational players like Siemens, Bosch, or Schneider Electric, for example, but most of them are SMEs and even micro businesses. And they may not be household names, but often they are the hidden champions, absolute global leaders in their fields. And I'm excited that we will be hearing from both types of companies today. What they all have in common is the cutting-edge technologies that they make, which are at the heart of Europe's digital and climate transition. And in the context of our recovery from the pandemic, these technologies will be even more important to generate long-term growth and long-term competitiveness for Europe. Now, clearly, the subject today is extremely timely because we have the updated industrial strategy coming out next week. Our event today actually is part of a broader series, which we call Industrial Strategy in Focus. And over the past months, we've already been covering everything from Europe's trade strategy to the future AI regulations to the circular economy. You're warmly invited to join our next event on the future cybersecurity framework. More information on that is on our website. And I also invite you to sign up to our monthly newsletter if you want to stay in touch with our activities and our events. All of that is available on our website. Now, why is today's topic so important? This is a defining moment for European industry because a new industrial strategy is being forged for the EU as we speak. We already saw the release of the proposed AI regulation. We also saw a proposed new machinery regulation. Those two are of particular importance to our industries, and we will no doubt come back to them in the discussion. We already had earlier this year the new EU trade strategy. We have an ongoing discussion around using state aid and so-called important projects of common European interest. And bringing all of this together, next week will be a really big week, because next week finally is when the updated EU industrial strategy is set to be released on the 5th of May. And we are also expecting on the same day a proposal on tackling foreign subsidies that are often distorting the single market today. In all of this, there is a new approach in Brussels when it comes to industry and when it comes to technology. And this is these keywords like strategic autonomy, like technological sovereignty that I'm sure many of you have been seeing in the media. And of course, these are not as such new today. They were already part of the industrial strategy that the Commission put forward back in March 2020. And there are really two overarching drivers that are behind this. One is the EU's flagship policy goal, the Green Deal, and the path to becoming climate neutral and being the first continent to become climate neutral. And then there is the second key driver, which is Europe's place in this emerging superpower conflict between China and the US. In both of those, technology is at the core. So we clearly have a huge stake in the green and clean technology space. the role of smarter industries in allowing the transformation of Europe to become climate neutral, in making our cities smarter, our buildings smarter, and reducing the emissions across the industry in our manufacturing sectors. And then, of course, technological sovereignty is also about keeping Europe in the global top league when it comes to key technologies like microchips, 5G, cybersecurity, batteries, cloud, AI, you name it. We want to be a rule setter and not a rule taker in these fields. And the crisis of COVID-19 and the economic impact of the pandemic has really illustrated some of the weaknesses that Europe faces, both in terms of its political environment and also within the industry itself. No surprise that now we are talking about supply chain dependencies and supply chain vulnerabilities after we realized how fast our supply chains could be interrupted. And we're talking about industrial resilience in the face of a major economic crisis like we have just faced. And clearly, these are going to be key new topics in the updated industrial strategy. And we are even talking about new policy measures like reshoring or nearshoring that 2 years ago would have been politically toxic. Now, the crisis really is an opportunity to jumpstart Europe's economy and also jump forward into a new chapter of European industrial development. And of course, the immediate recovery plan from the crisis is not just about industry, it is about the entire fabric of society. But we cannot overstate how far-reaching the consequences are for industry and for technology in particular. At the heart of this, of course, is a massive new funding drive under the next 7-year budget, the MFF, and the Recovery Fund, including massive grants that the EU will give to the member states to kickstart their economies. And we have never seen a package of public financing at the European level on this scale. Very novel is not just the amount of money, but also the fact that this money is being coupled to some specific targets. And in particular, a part of those funds will have to go into green and digital initiatives. So governments will need to justify that they are using the money available for green and digital goals. And the Commission will be centrally overseeing these plans and validating these plans. And then the final part that is really new in this picture is the approach to managing the industry, the approach to industrial strategy, which is based on an ecosystems approach. Some of you may be familiar with this already and will have seen also this circle with the ecosystems that are being currently prioritized. And this is radically new because this is about the public sector at EU level and the national level taking a much harder look at specific parts of the industry where the state would want to play and need to play a bigger role going forward. Orgalim has been a big advocate of this approach, and especially of the recovery plan and the funding targets. And we have also welcomed the fresh thinking on an industrial strategy, including the role that ecosystems can play here. But it's no secret that we also have some serious concerns about parts of the discussion. And some of the instruments that are being considered sound to us essentially like old industrial strategy in a new packaging. It still comes down, at least sometimes, to the state picking winners and enacting more protectionist measures that are putting up walls around Europe against the other parts of the global economy. And for our technology industries with deep, complex global value chains, with thriving innovation ecosystems, this would be the wrong recipe. And we fear that would actually backfire in the long run in terms of weakening European industry and European innovation capacity. So we are really facing a once in a generation opportunity for Europe in the weeks and the months ahead. and an opportunity to reclaim leadership as a technology superpower in the fields that will matter tomorrow. We know that we are not satisfied with where we are today from the fields that matter today. We know other parts of the world have been much faster in claiming technology leadership in those areas, but in the technologies that will matter tomorrow, we have the chance to be at the top of the game. And because there is so much at stake for Europe and for our industries, we must be focused on thinking about the long term and the key technological and competitive drivers that will determine how all of Europe will be developing, not just particular sectors or particular ecosystems, but all of Europe together. And this brings me to one of the most important technological opportunities that we want to discuss today, and that I call as being critical for a new generation of industrial leaders. Because in all of this, we are seeing a massive opportunity for Europe, for Europe's industry, which is shared across all parts of the economy, and which is related to the very nature in which things are produced. Across the world, across all sectors, the nature of manufacturing is transforming fundamentally, with massive connection of the production value chain and digitalization of production processes, as well as breakthroughs in materials, in sensors, and other physical technologies. We are calling this advanced manufacturing. In parts of Europe, it's called Industry 4.0, it's called Industrie du Futur, it's called Smart Factory. There are different ways you can describe it in the spirit of having a neutral term that is not connected to a particular national context. We're calling it advanced manufacturing. And why is that so important? It's because this is what will allow us to produce faster, cleaner, and cheaper in the future. It's how we will manage these incredibly complex integrated global supply chains that are used in technology products. And it's how we will shift from mass production in the previous industrial age to mass customization, where the product can be tailored depending on the individual needs of the customers going forward. And all of this at the same speed and the scale as we were able to previously mass produce. The demand for these technologies is global, and the transformation is happening worldwide. And we know that the markets that will master this will have a long-term competitive edge. And I like this example that I'm showing here on the page from the World Economic Forum, which looked at the future of production readiness across global markets and ranked the countries depending on how well placed they were to take advantage of this transformation. And of the 25 top markets that are going to benefit from this, 18 are in Europe. So here is a unrivaled European technology strength. Ironically, we are concerned that Europe is wasting this potential because the US and China, they have understood how important this is and they are catching up very fast. And that is currently not sufficiently on the agenda at the European level and across the member states to make sure we take advantage of this opportunity we have.